Conjuring was directed by James Wan, and the story basically the movie basically tells the story about these group of family that move into this home, and they realize that they're being attacked by these paranormal forces that are going on, which lead to pets dying and stuff like that out of nowhere. And then the family, including their daughters, are being attacked by these paranormal forces. And these two paranormal investigators, known as Ed and Lorraine Warren, have to try to help this in particular family before these paranormal forces cause chaos into the entire family. I'll have to say that The Conjuring is one of those horror movies that's actually pretty effective. It does have a decent amount of good scares. The acting is surprisingly top-notch in this movie, especially for the young actresses who played as the daughters. They were very talented. Not a lot of children in horror movies are really as talented and as great. These children actually did what they had to do, and they really did a great. I also like Patrick Wilson and Lil Taylor as the mother and the father, because just like the kids, they're also trying to struggle to figure out what's actually like going on in the house, and trying to figure out if they're actually being like attacked by these paranormal forces ever since they moved into this new home. Because strange crap has been going down ever since they moved in. And you could tell that this family really needed help. And you can feel the pain that every single person in this family is going through. And yes, it's terrifying. Like I said, in some horror movies involving with paranormal stuff, there's not actually a monster in this movie. The monsters are all the paranormal forces that are attacking this in particular family. That's what the creature and the antagonist is. It's the paranormal forces that are attacking this in particular family that are trying to survive, including the investigators. But this movie really surprised me. The Conjuring is one of those movies that's so good, it's unforgettable. The performances in this movie are actually very dark. There are some scenes, like near the ending of The Conjuring, where they take it to the extreme, and they do it great. And I'm not going to spoil what happens in the movie and stuff like that, just in case if you haven't seen The Conjuring. Which, if you haven't, go educate yourself. You really need to, see this movie. It's really good. My opinion, way better than Annabelle. The characters were also very pretty organized in this movie. The setting is actually a great setting. It's sort of reminds me of a Hitchcock tone, and it's very disturbing and creepy, and it fits perfectly with this family and all the paranormal forces that are happening around the family. The setting fits very perfectly. The directing is also pretty astonishing in this movie. And who cannot forget the suspense? Let's give it up for one of the greatest suspenses in any horror movie to exist. Seriously, you'll love the suspense in this movie way more than you did in Annabelle, because the suspense in this movie, they have it. It doesn't always just pop up on screen. It's mostly something happens to the kids or the adults or maybe the entire family. And like I said, you don't see the creature attacking the people. They're paranormal forces, so you can actually feel what this entire family is feeling. And since this is kind of psychological, that makes it more suspenseful. Probably the most memorable scene in this movie is where the mother goes down the basement and it's all pitch black, and then you hear out of nowhere, you just hear someone whispering, "Hey, want to hear hide and clap?" And out of nowhere, the freaking hand claps and the freaking light and the freaking candle turns out. That's probably the most memorable scene in this movie, and for good reason. It's scary.
Wanna play hide and clap?
But yes, this movie is terrifying on so many levels. No surprise that this was actually based off of true events, which is more disturbing and unnerving, and terrifying as well. And yes, the Annabelle doll, this is the first appearance of the Annabelle doll in this movie. And it works. It's creepy, it's terrifying, but the Annabelle doll rarely pops up in this movie. And I think that's fair for the movie, actually. I think it's actually fair, but when the Annabelle doll does pop out, I think it's a lot creepier than the original Annabelle movie. There's like some kind of scene where Annabelle's sitting on a chair and then she just turns her head and she's just all like staring at the child or something like that. I could not get that out of my head. It's still in my head right now. That is so terrifying. If you're a viewer watching this video and if you want an Annabelle doll to sleep with, you have problems. You definitely do have problems. But I don't have to say that The Conjuring is one of the most profitable and well-known and important horror movies of our generation. And not only our generation, but one of the most well-known and greatest horror movies of all time. And yes, I can see why. It's terrifying. It's based off of true events. The story is very solid, in a good way, and the performances are unforgettable. As for my issues with the movie, the only main issues that I had with this movie is sometimes the storyline drags. It kind of slows down a little bit. Like, there are some times in the movie where there are some scenes that don't really have to be in the movie. Like, I think they could have just, like, I don't know, but it just kind of dragged a little bit, and it felt to the part where I just got kind of, like, maybe dull. It got dull, maybe, but the movie wasn't terrible. This movie is awesome. It really is. But it's just sometimes, like, just only a couple scenes in this movie where you can get drags. But that's really it. The rest of this movie is gorgeous. And if you haven't seen this movie, I think you should definitely check it out. It's definitely a horror movie worth watching. And if you're a fan of horror, you will not be disappointed by this film. It actually has some pretty gosh darn great elements that will surprise audiences all around the world. Seriously, ever since this movie came out, it was a critic and audience success. And it fit perfectly in the horror genre. And a lot of people are still talking about this movie today. This is probably the best in the Conjuring universe. Maybe if you count The Conjuring 2, which is supposed to be a little better, some people say. But other than that, this movie's very good. I think it's a lot better than Annabelle. Like, it's a much better movie than Annabelle, considering it had more interesting elements and plots and more interesting characters too, and it came out before Annabelle 2. And Annabelle wasn't really a necessary movie either. But this one was a huge success. This is one of the horror movies that changed our genre of the 21st century. From all those horror movies that involve paranormal activity, this has to be one of the greatest. And it's a very strong horror film too. You will not be disappointed. This movie has everything. Out of any horror movie in the entire genre, this works as a horror movie. And one of the best. It's a very effective film with a good plot, amazing characters, good directing, and the suspense is top-notch in this film. This is a film that deserves to be recognized, a horror film that deserves to be recognized by almost any horror fan out there. And come on, I know you've heard, I knew you at least heard of The Conjuring, because if you haven't, like, seriously, where have you been? What have you been doing your entire life? Like, where have you been? Seriously, guys, this is definitely a movie worth checking out. It's a very effective film to me and to almost anyone in the horror that loves the horror genre. And it's just a strong and unforgettable horror film. And I'm really looking forward to see this movie again sometime. And you know what? I'm gonna give The Conjuring a B. So thank you guys so much for watching my movie review of The Conjuring. I will try to do a movie review of The Conjuring 2 along with Annabelle Creation. I also want to do a movie review of Rosemary's Baby, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Candyman, Lights Out, and etc. I also want to do Seed of Chucky, so I can finish that up, because I already did Curse of Chucky. When Cult of Chucky comes out, I'm going to review that. And like I said, on Halloween, I have a surprise horror movie for you. I'm not going to give you any hints. You're just going to have to figure out what it is on Halloween. But anyway, yeah, we'll be doing some other horror movie reviews too, etc. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much, always, for watching. You guys are the best. I love every single one of you that tune in and subscribe. And even if you don't subscribe, even if you just watch my videos, I still love you, all. Love every single one of you. You guys are the best. You guys show me support through my YouTube channel, even though I'm not a big YouTuber. I hope I will become one day, but anyway, you guys are the best. Thank you guys so much for always watching. And as always, I am Mario Fan 520, and I will see you next time. Peace out.